Watcher Glitches. It's Sunday, the 10th of December, and this is just a quick update on Crypto GB and some of the more interesting conversations that are currently being discussed in the group. And I think the a good conversation is the price of XRP, and hopefully I'll explain why. So, firstly, thanks for people contributing on this topic. Let me read out one of the questions, and this is from Michael here, and it's a really good question. So, I love XRP, but unfortunately believe any institutions or banks that will use in the future won't be using XRP from exchanges. They buy and will buy directly from Ripple Stash to use on their software. They have like 40 odd billion, like SBI they have like 40 odd billion XRP, I guess. SBI, for those that don't know, is a major shareholder in Ripple, the company. Are using now, but they bought XRP directly from Ripple, and because of this has no impact on price. It takes almost no XRP to transfer 1 billion across the border, so the demand will have to be insane. Ripple won't sell their stash, or if they do, they buy it back to sell to institutions, etc. So technically, XRP on exchanges will have no utility, and considering it's not part of the liquidity hub. I can't work out how the price will ever increase. Less than 1 XRP to transfer just under 1 billion. Maybe of Ripple, if Ripple released all of their stash into circulation, it would then be worthwhile buying, because banks, institutions, etc. will all have to buy from exchanges to use. They said XRP was not meant to be on exchanges, and that's what it means. 50 billion XRP was always enough. Ripple decided to create 50 billion more to get us sad idiots to buy on exchanges. Yet Ripple are making billions every year from XRP sales to holders' pennies. Okay, Michael, so thanks a lot for contributing, and I definitely appreciate your comments, just like everyone else who contributes to the group. Now, I did reply. Let me read out my reply, and then I'll put in some more context around this whole debate, because I think it's absolutely timely right now, for reasons I'll explain. So, my reply to Michael here, to cut a long response short, Ripple Pay, ODL, will not lift the price of XRP, and we are all in the speculative phase of this asset class. So XRP follows Bitcoin, which follows macro. That's the M1 money supply, and is essentially a risk. It's considered by many institutions to be a risk-on asset. In the long run, the utility of the network will determine its price. The utility of the XRPL will come from automated market makers, AMMs, deep public liquidity pools connecting all asset classes. It will come from digital capital formation and tokenization of real-world assets. It will come from side chains that use XRP either directly or by burning it, so Root and Zahal. It will come from programmable money, programmable banking, and institutional DeFi. Check out my last video on that subject as well. So let's step back a little bit. I'm going to tell you historically how XRP is perceived to, if not actually performs, is that it's the last coin to pump. It's done that in the last two, I guess. Did that in the first two bull markets. In the last one, it didn't do much. It pumped quite late, and it didn't even break an all-time high, and that's because of the SEC case. But there's a perception that XRP is the last to pump, which is probably true if you look at the data, but you need to do that for yourselves. There's a real irrational hatred for XRP, which makes it incredibly attractive to me. because I'm a contrarian and I've done my research in this project. So to give you a little bit of background, my background is in banking and financial technology, specifically payments. I worked at BACS, Bankers Automated Clearing System in the UK for 6 years. And then I went to Deutsche Bank for 6 years, where I worked in front, middle and back office applications. Again, a lot of those were payment processing applications, integrations. Actually, I should go right back. In the .com era, I worked for a company called AccuCard, which was a credit card, a customizable credit card, which we sold to Lloyds Bank. So I've got some, if there's one area that I can say I'm moderate, I have some moderate expertise and understanding, it's domestic and international payments, and also payments for trade finance and trade execution. So I know a little bit about payments, and it's for me, when as a contrarian investor, to come across an asset like XRP where it's being positioned by Ripple, and remember, anyone can position XRP to do anything that they want, but Ripple have arguably had the largest influence on the early stages of the development of XRP and the XRPL. And that the early stages was as a means of improving cross-border remittance by eliminating the need for correspondent banking. That's the promise and the utility of XRPL from Ripple's perspective. And that's what Ripple Pay and ODL were positioned to do. So to go back to what I was saying, as a contrarian investor, to come across a crypto asset that's positioned for payments, which is something that I know something about, and then as a contrarian investor to realize that there's irrational hatred for this currency, for this coin, this asset, digital crypto, means for me it's incredibly attractive as an investment. Now you got to go and do your own research. None of this is advice, but I'm just saying these are two factors that make it incredibly attractive for me, because when there's irrational hatred for a currency, for any asset, that to me says that it's not going to be valued properly by the people who have the irrational hatred for it. So where does the irrational hatred come from? As I said, there is a perception that XRP pumps last, and this, if you look online for evidence of this, there's plenty of it, where you'll see people in the past have absolutely, after holding onto XRP and watching every other cryptocurrency, including Doge or some other shitcoin, pump, I don't know, 10x, 20x, 100x in some cases, while XRP doesn't pump. Essentially, it goes from fear to loathing, and they sell the asset class to chase some green candle. And as CoinsKid says, if you chase green candles, you get red dildos. And I think this is part of the problem with XRP. If you look at its history, because of the way it's been last to pump, it's angered a lot of people who put money into it and watched everything else pump around it, then swapped into those other assets and got crushed in the inevitable downtrend. So they watched all of their peers and friends make extraordinary amounts of money, while their meager investments they held on, which when they liquidated in XRP, left them massively down. And then when they watched people who did hold XRP make some money out of it, make some profit, I think that really just adds to the irrational loathing of this asset. I think there are a lot of people who have been burned by XRP because of this behavior in the markets, where it's the last to pump, and it pumps incredibly quickly as well for a very short period of time. It doesn't give you an opportunity to come back in very easily. So I think that has created this very irrational loathing of this asset class. And we're going to see that play out again. So I want everyone to be aware of that, right? This is a key part of the psychology of investing in XRP. So let me elaborate on what the use, where is the money inflowing into XRP? Where is the utility of XRP? So again, let's look at these crypto assets. The value of the crypto asset is really a good way of looking at it, I think, is that it's a claim on a value of the network itself, because these crypto tokens represent value of a particular network technology. And for XRP, and the XRPL, where is the value of the network? Well, let's step back again and look at what Ripple have done over 11 years. They have set up partnerships with financial institutions, banks of different sizes, and central banks. They've also set up partnerships with large corporations that, as part of their operating model, depend on efficient cross-border remittance, whether it's for treasury or liquidity functions, because they're large and they have a global presence. So 10 years in the making, Ripple has been selling enterprise software to these institutions and carrying out pilots for CBDCs with 6 countries currently at the moment, probably more in the offing. That's a huge network whose value is slowly beginning to be realized and is reflected in the price of the crypto asset. In terms of ODL, I agree with Michael, right? I initially thought ODL would have, and I wasn't the only one, I think many of us, including Ripple, thought that ODL, Ripple payments now, would result in an increase in the value of the XRP token. And oddly enough, I think it has. If you look at where this thing started, at what point do you want to say where did the value of ODL kick in? Like, there are about 10 corridors now. They're not exotic corridors. I mean, if you think North America, Mexico is an exotic corridor for payments, tell me which one isn't. It's like that's the largest corridor for US dollar remittances. And Ripple, with their software, which, while the software doesn't necessarily have to use XRP, it absolutely is positioned to start doing so if it already isn't. Because what the Ripple software does is it just looks for the best execution for of FX exchange. And if that means that it uses a local partner exchange on both sides, like an exchange in the US like Uphold and an exchange in Mexico like Mexico, I can't remember what it was, Mexico, I don't know what it is. But then it will use those exchanges and XRP as a bridge currency to fulfill the most efficient execution of a cross-border exchange. So, yeah, while I broadly agree, I don't think there's probably a cap to how much ODL and Ripple payments will add value to XRP. But let's look at what else is on the horizon here. And I think David Short's had this vision very early on, so it's not something new that's been bolted on. It's something that has been in the plan for a long time, is to have automated market makers, which are public liquidity pools that are accessible to anyone to participate in terms of drawing liquidity from these pools for whatever reason they might need the liquidity for, whether it's a loan, whether it's payments execution, whether it's trade finance, you name it, whatever you need liquidity for. Maybe it's even for a mortgage, I don't know. Sky's the limit. These are public automated market makers that will draw, the idea is that they will draw liquidity into them, and the people who provide that liquidity will benefit from 3 separate revenue streams. There's a video on this that I did. You can go and have a look at that, so I don't want to go into too much detail on it. But suffice to say that is one of the areas that we believe as investors in this asset class is going to really drive the price, because unlike ODL, the AMMs will lock liquidity onto the network and make it available at a fee for anyone else to use it. That is the utility, and that's going to increase the price significantly. The other areas are issuance and real world tokenization, what I'm starting to refer to as digital asset capital formation. So the tokenization of real world assets is happening, and the XRP XRPL is a great place. The XRP ledger is a great place to issue your tokens, form capital, earn yield and rewards on some of that capital while you use the rest to build out your business, whatever that may be. That's going to be huge. I think that's the reason why you would use XRPL is, again, because the AMMs would be available, and you'd also have this incredibly cheap transaction costs, which is the transaction cost isn't there to make money. Otherwise, that's the whole point of having XRP being very, very cheap to transact in, is that it becomes a competitive edge against less efficient networks and traditional finance. It was never part of the business model for XRP to become profitable because of a low transaction fee. Okay, so that was never part of the problem. That was never part of the proposition. So yeah, there are these other use cases that are coming to the XRPL. Just to reiterate: automated market making, digital capital formation, asset issuance, and the other traditional narratives where you have things like NFTs for sure. That's growing on the XRPL. You can mint NFTs on there. And then there's kind of micro payments and I guess what you would call fluid real-time payments as well, which among other use cases on the XRPL. So for me, when you look at what's on the horizon with I should actually mention the side chains as well, like Zahar and Root Network. So other people are building on this ledger. Developer activity is soaring. It's in a good place, unlike Solana, which is pumping, but the developer activity seems to be decreasing, or it certainly was the last couple of weeks I looked at it. And I know from first-hand experience from having a pull request accepted by the XRPL for a one-letter typo. God's sake, the team had a look at my pull request and merged it into the XRP ledger. So I've got code now. Well, I've got a comment that's been updated in the AMM header file. You can go to GitHub and look at my contribution of changing on to off or off to on. But I know that developer activity is happening, not just on Ripple D, the actual source code for Ripple, but on these side chains. And then there's the broader ecosystem with for example, Flare networks with Songbird and Flare that are building the, F assets are a capability where they take non-smart contract based assets like XRP and enable them on DeFi so that you can earn yield or participate in providing collateral for whatever purpose. Not just on XRPL with the AMMs anymore. You can go to Flare, you can lock or wrap your XRP as an F asset and then make it available on all of the other networks that are going to be eventually bridged by Flare. And I think the reason why Flare Networks is going to win the bridging game is because they've got the best bridges, which are insured, unlike any other bridge design that I'm aware of. So while I know, and I think there was a company, was it Babylon, who raised 18 million on the notion of being able to wrap Bitcoin and enable it for DeFi. Well, Flare Networks are about 5 years ahead, like 4 years maybe, I don't know. But they're bloody ahead of that on that game. So what's going to happen, and I'm getting prepared for it, is that a lot of people are going to watch other assets pump, 5, 10, 15, 20x. They're going to be holding onto XRP. They're going to be coming onto this group because we have a lot of XRP holders on this group. And they're going to be venting spleen about how terrible XRP is and why isn't it pumping. XRP doesn't give a damn about your expectations for it to pump. It just doesn't. So, if you want to ride that emotional roller coaster of watching things like pump and then crash again, don't invest in XRP. It will probably pump last once everyone who is venting spleen and hating it and loathing it has been shaken out. And there'll be no open interest, there'll be no liquidity, no leveraged traders to flush out. There'll be a massive clear gap to the all-time high at the minimum, I would say. So that would be like, let's say, call it $3.50. And there'll be another massive clear gap to God knows where when it's in price discovery. So yeah, there are some reasons why XRP is a good investment for contrarians who understand payments. I'll leave it with that. Thanks a lot, everyone, and see you later, glitches.